We can't head into winter without a proper celebration of the start of winter hiking. Get ready for the return of Full Conditions Winter Kickoff, presented by Bergen Outdoor and REKLIS Brewing Company, happening Saturday, November 22nd at the Colonial Theater in Bethlehem. Each November, we celebrate the start of winter hiking with a full day of activities, all to raise money for local search and rescue teams through the New Hampshire Outdoor Council. On November 22nd, the day begins with a community hike to the summit of Mount Pemigewassa in Franconia Notch, where the REKLIS crew will be waiting with hot chocolate, coffee, and snacks for fellow hikers. Later that evening, the Colonial Theater will host a ticketed event featuring an exclusive screening of 109 Degrees Below, a live episode of the SLASRPodcast, a lineup of inspiring guest speakers, and cans of Full Conditions IPA, our special collaboration brew. So who are we going to have for speakers with SLASR at this event, Stomp?
We have a heck of a lineup. So when the pod takes the stage, we're going to be joined by REKLIS Steve, of course. He's going to give us a great update on the latest craft brews and what's happening at REKLIS. We're also going to be interviewing Paul Cormier, who is the current president of Mountain Rescue Services. And then to top off the evening, we're going to be talking to Joe Lentini and Ty Gagne on stage combined. So, Ty Gagne wrote the recent book, Lions of Winter. And Joe Lentini himself was a part of the Albert Dow event so many years ago. So it's going to be a really great night of education, talking about full conditions and what you can do to prepare, and so much other information. It's going to be a fantastic time.
Excellent. So if you want to go to this event, make sure you get tickets while they last. You can find them at eventbrite.com. You can search REKLIS Full Conditions. There's also going to be a link with every episode that we're posting. And you can also find links in the REKLIS bio, as well as Bergen Outdoors and SLASR. So we hope to see you there.
Yeah.
And it should be a great time.
Yeah, and remember, the Full Conditions event is a benefit for the New Hampshire Outdoor Council, which is an umbrella nonprofit in the state of New Hampshire that provides funding, grant monies to the volunteer search and rescue teams. So the night is a very important night for the teams.
Excellent.
See you there.
Here is the latest Higher Summits forecast, brought to you by our friends at the Mount Washington Observatory.
Weather above treeline in the White Mountains is often wildly different than at our trailheads. Before you hike, check the Higher Summits forecast at mountwashington.org. Weather observers working at the nonprofit Mount Washington Observatory write this elevation-based forecast every morning and afternoon. Search and rescue teams, avalanche experts, and backcountry guides all rely on the Higher Summits forecast to anticipate weather conditions above treeline. You should too. Go to mountwashington.org or text forecast to 603-356-2137.
Hello, listeners. Nick here with your forecast for the weekend of November 22nd, 2025. Friday. In the clear under mostly cloudy skies, trending into the clouds late with a slight chance of afternoon snow showers. Possible snow accumulations of a trace to an inch. High rise in the upper 20s, then falling to the mid-20s in the afternoon. Wind, southwest, shifting west at 20 to 35 miles per hour early, 40 to 55 miles per hour midday, and 50 to 70 miles per hour with gusts up to 80 miles per hour late. Wind chill rising to 5 above to 15 above, then falling to 0 to 10 above. Friday night. In the clouds with the chance for snow showers early, trending in and out of the clouds under mostly cloudy skies late, possible additional snow accumulations of a trace to an inch. Low upper teens. Wind, west shifting northwest at 50 to 70 miles per hour with gusts up to 80 miles per hour, decreasing to 40 to 55 miles per hour with gusts up to 65 miles per hour late. Wind chill falling 5 below to 15 below. Saturday. In and out of the clouds under mostly cloudy skies, trending towards clearing under partly cloudy skies. High in the upper teens early, then falling to the lower teens by sunset. Wind northwest at 40 to 55 miles per hour early, 30 to 45 miles per hour midday, then increasing to 45 to 60 miles per hour with gusts up to 65 miles per hour late. Wind chill 5 below to 15 below, falling to 10 below to 20 below. So there you have it. That's our forecast for this weekend. We've got full conditions coming up. Hopefully a lot of you will be getting out there, crushing some peaks beforehand or afterwards. Looks like it should be nice, albeit a bit chilly by Saturday. So enjoy, happy hiking, safe hiking, and hope to see you at full conditions, everybody. Bye.
Broadcasting from the Woodpecker Studio in the great Live Free or Die state of New Hampshire. Welcome to the Sounds Like a Search and Rescue podcast, where we discuss all things related to hiking and search and rescue in the White Mountains of New Hampshire and beyond. Here are your hosts, Mike and Nick.
We are live on episode 214 here, Taylor. So you've done other podcasts, right?
Yes, it's been a very long time.
Yeah. It's been a while. So yeah, you were on a couple. I definitely heard you on a podcast before. So you'll have to judge how our podcast compares to other podcasts that you've been on.
It's very organized. The script that you sent.
Oh, Nick, we're already organized. So you didn't get a script before.
No,
so
I've gone into them just blind.
All right. Yeah, we're very organized, Nick.
Yeah.
Yeah, we try. I'll give Mike a lot of credit for that. I did do a fair bit of legwork on the beginning of this. I know that we got that live show coming up, so we're kind of scrambling a little bit this week. I think it's just a lot of conversation going on.
Yeah, we're doing too. So for listeners, so you'll hear this on Friday. That will be the day before the full conditions event that goes down on November 22nd. So there's still some tickets. So if you go on REKLIS events, I think that there's a few tickets left. It's going to be 300 people. Nick, 300 people there. I'm going to be sweating bullets. What are we going to...
It'll be okay. Me and Stomp will hold your hand up there.
I'm a nervous wreck.
Yeah, it's a decent amount of people. So
I got to come up with some new dad jokes. So Taylor, do you know any good dad jokes?
Oh, gosh. I hear them all the time because my husband's a new dad. But
yes.
Congrats.
All right.
I'll tell you his favorite.
Okay.
How do you? I'm gonna mess it up. How does a penguin glue its egg glue together? Oh, no, I messed it up.
It glues it
together.
I give up.
Yeah. Pretend I didn't say that.
Oh, it glues it together. I get it.
No, I knew the punchline. I didn't know the joke. He's gonna be so disappointed.
Oh. No, that's okay. So, I'll give you some dad jokes on the way out that you can give him too. So all good. So welcome, Taylor, the New Hampshire Hiker. You may be the biggest guest we've ever had, Taylor.
Really?
Yes.
I don't know. We'll have to see here. So, but welcome to episode 214 of the Sounds Like a Search and Rescue podcast. This week we are joined by Taylor, the New Hampshire Hiker. Taylor's a well-known thru hiker and content creator with a large following on YouTube. She's hiked the AT a couple of times, and she's an avid New Hampshire and Northeast hiker. So she's going to sit in with us tonight, and later on we'll do a quick segment about her hiking background and her process for creating videos and any advice that she has for thru hikers. Now would be a good time, Taylor, because there's going to be a lot of people that have the crazy idea that they're going to hit Springer Mountain in February or March, and you can give them a reality check and just prepare them for what they're gonna expect there.
Yeah,
which would be good. So plus we will have a refresh on winter hiking basics. Nick, I pulled a little bit of our past content to just give people a quick basic summary. And then we've got a story on a missing hiker on Blood Mountain in Georgia. We've got a couple of history segments. We've got some hiking gear discussion. We're going to talk about hiking gear for parents with little kids. So Taylor and Nick can both commiserate on that. I've got a couple of new winter hiking backpacks. Nick's got a music moment, and then Nick's going to talk about his hike on the Belknaps. So I'm Mike.
And I'm Nick.
Let's get started.
Let's get started!
And then we're going to go right into our friend Christina and her company Wild Raven Endurance. So if you want to get in shape, you can call Christina. So we'll come back on the other side.
All right.
Diddle-diddle.
Hi, I'm Christina from Wild Raven Endurance Coaching. I work with athletes of all levels, from hikers to triathletes, helping you reach your goals with personalized guidance. With years of experience hiking, mountain biking, and trail running across New England, I also have a deep knowledge of the New Hampshire 4,000 footers and the surrounding trails. Whether you're a beginner hiker or a seasoned athlete, I'll guide you towards your goals, reducing injury risk and improving your performance through smart, tailored coaching. Are you looking to transition from hiking to mountain running? I'm here to make that journey easier too. My approach combines strength training, mindfulness, and life balance on and off the trail. Let me help you find more joy in your sport while getting stronger and healthier along the way. Visit www.coaching.christinafolsick.com and start your adventure today.
That's our little noise, our little filler noise, Taylor,
All right.
so that we know we've got to put an advertisement in there.
Except we leave the noise in because it's
Yes.
just exactly. Yeah. See, you got it already.
You already
Just
got
like a
that.
nice.
So
Yeah.
I can't remember how that came about, if Stomp or I did that. So anyway, but all right. So we've talked about full condition, Nick. We got an email from a listener who wanted to give a correction. So what was the correction, Nick? He wanted to correct me because I was taking credit for something.
Yeah, so it was actually a listener whose Instagram handle was In the Woods 29. So in last episode, in many episodes, you've commented on sort of, I guess we're giving Mike credit for it, but it actually sounds like it's been a while and it's been around for a while.
Yeah.
But Mike's headlamp comment on sort of headlamp redundancy of like, basically you need two headlamps because two is only as good as one, because if the batteries die or the other one works, like you want to make sure you have a headlamp. So it sounds, I did a little research. So the saying itself is actually two is one and one is none.
Right.
Is the formal saying. And while there's a couple origins of this, the most common one and most likely one that I found is it's thought to originate with the military and more specifically the Navy SEALs. And it's their take on redundancy with gear and supplies when on a mission. So just having basically two of everything. So that in case anything fails, you've got the backup. So not just with headlamps, but with all your gear for that matter at any sort of mission. So yeah, that's kind of where that comes from, it sounds like.
Yeah, I honestly, up until I thought I invented it. I think I lied so much that I just finally convinced myself it was true.
You started to believe the lie.
Yeah. I guess, but yeah, I'm not gonna. I don't want to mess around with the Navy SEALs, so I apologize.
No.
But regardless, two headlamps. Everybody should have two headlamps on them.
Yes.
So, Taylor, when you thru hike, did you have two headlamps?
I did not. I had one headlamp, but I recharged it every 3 days in town. And I honestly didn't really use it that much.
Right. You were
Okay.
basically in bed before you needed it, which is a good
I went to bed very early and then always slept in. But you just use it a little bit around camp. There was a section where I did lose it, and that was very bad. But I got it back pretty quick.
Right, yeah. And I think that it's more so like, I always say it for winter hiking and, especially like this time of the year where it gets dark out, you get a lot of folks that they underestimate the amount of time that it takes to get down. And then the other thing is having an extra headlamp. I always tell people, like, it's not even for you. Your headlamp's going to work. You're going to run into people that are going to be in trouble. And having just a cheap throwaway headlamp that you can give them if they need it is a good practice.
Even stuff happens just with, I'm reminded of the time I was, he wouldn't mind me saying, but with Mike Trokey, I was out doing a traverse over Mariah and Shelburne, Mariah, probably like 2 years ago, actually in November, basically this time of year. And he had backup batteries in his headlamp. It just wasn't working for whatever reason. It wasn't going full power. Was kind of strange. So I had an extra one, happened to have an extra one in my pack, and kind of threw it on for him. It would have been, we would have gotten down, but it would have been kind of slow going without him having a full lit up headlamp.
Yeah.
And I never hiked without my battery bank being fully charged. So I always had that as a backup too, to recharge it.
Yeah, yeah. We're going to talk about some of the gear that you had, because I would assume like battery backup for you was huge with the amount of recording you were doing and everything else.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
You probably had your power game down pretty well.
Yeah, I had a lot of battery power.
Nice. Excellent. All right. So next up, if people haven't noticed, there's been snow at higher elevation. I've been looking at all these photos, like a lot of snow on Franconia Ridge, a lot of snow up in the Presidentials right now. So Nick, you had put on the script here with the question mark, will it last or will it get washed out before the full winter sets in? So I haven't really been paying attention to the weather up in the mountains recently, but it seems like it's going to stick around, I would think.
Yeah, I know the past few years, at least, it seems like we've had sort of a good snow base. I know definitely 2 years ago, I remember kind of driving up to do, I think, Middle Sister after Thanksgiving, like maybe Black Friday or Saturday. And like Loon was open kind of much like this year, kind of early. I know Loon, I believe, is opening up this Friday. I know like up in Vermont, J Peak, my cousin who's up there was saying that they're running lifts and stuff and they're getting a good amount of natural snow. But kind of hoping we don't get that washout for the ski resorts this year, because it seems like we're off to a pretty good start. Kind of the bummer is too, even if it's a little bit warmer than usual, it's just when we get those rainstorms where it rains like an inch and a half, like it just decimates the snow. But it seems like we're off to a good start. I know early this week, and I was talking to friends, Steve from the Cape and Paul Gamel, who are up on Franconia Ridge, and like they were post-holing up there on like Saturday. Like there was like a foot or so of snow, I think. So, and I think they got more on top of that even earlier this week. So, yeah, hopefully we're off to a good start for the resorts, for snowmobile, and for all those winter activities that people drive up to New Hampshire to do.
Right. I'm excited to get up there, but it won't be until probably December until I get up there again.
Yeah.
One thing I will say is J Peak had said that they were going to be opening up this week. They're probably going to be opening up tomorrow. So we're recording on Tuesday. They're going to be opening, I think, on Wednesday. They did have to scold the back of the uphill skiers. I guess people were skinning up there into areas where they said that they were trying to work on getting the trails ready, and they were messing things up. So if you're doing backcountry and you're going into resorts, just pay attention to the uphill ski policies for these places, so you don't screw it up for everybody.
Yeah, for sure.
Excellent. So I thought that it would be a good idea. We've got Taylor's here with us, and Nick knows quite a lot about winter hiking. So I figured I would pull some of the past episodes that we did so we can talk about the basics for winter hiking. And this is not something that we can cover in 5 minutes really, but I'll do my best. But what I would suggest listeners do is if you want to get into winter hiking, there's a couple of things. One is there's all kinds of research out there, but ultimately, like you should find a friend that knows what they're doing, and you can network. You can go to the hiking buddies. We always talk about them. They always will have like beginner hiking opportunities, like Andrew Barlow. If you see him put something out, definitely jump on that. He's a great teacher, but definitely keep an eye out for the hiking buddies. I think that the AMC also, you can sign up. I'm always seeing AMC groups out there. You'll see them on Pierce in the winter or other areas, but AMC is another one that you can sign up to get intro to winter hiking. And then Redline Guiding is another one where if you want to pay for a guide and get that experience. But the episodes that we did where we did a real deep dive on winter hiking was episode 32 and episode 33. And we had Karen Washington, who is a prolific hiker. She works at REI. She gave a breakdown on, we kind of broke this down into a couple of sections. The episode 32 talks about some research sites. So Taylor, we recommended like Section Hiker and a couple of other sites that have good information. Like you can look up like the top 10 hiking boots or whatever you need. But on episode 32, we talked about products for the trailhead, making sure that you've got a portable jump start, you've got a shovel for the car, you've got a light for the car in case something happens. Sometimes you get plowed in. Have you ever been plowed in when you've gone winter hiking, Taylor?
No, not that I remember.
Yeah, me neither, luckily, but it does happen. So we talked about all that safety on the trailhead. We talked about traction. So you need micro spikes. Sometimes you need crampons. You need snowshoes. So you got to do research on those. We talked about trail conditions, looking at New England trail conditions, road closures, and different informational sites. And then we talked about, I guess, like just hydration and Nalgene bottles, bottle sleeves, bottle parkers, and then the next episode with Rebecca Sperry, we got into the core pieces of the gear that you need, which is basically pants, socks, gaiters, upper body, hats, glove systems, jackets, goggles, balaclavas, neck gaiters, and a whole slew of other things. But I would say from a hiking perspective in the winter, the goal is that you need to manage your heat regulation. You'll typically, when you're going uphill, you'll be in less clothing. You'll have like a midweight shirt on, and then as you get up above tree line, you'll put heavier clothes on. And if you're going to stop, you'll basically put heavier clothes on. That's when you basically have your like puff jacket or your shell. And then you've got to figure out how all this stuff works. So there's a lot of research into it. I would definitely recommend episodes 32 and 33. And then I don't know, Nick, if you have any like very high level suggestions for people for winter hiking.
I definitely would second on your heat management sort of thing. That's such an important part of winter hiking. I mean, in the Whites, it gets pretty cold. Doesn't get, not the coldest places on earth, or maybe Mount Washington is sometimes, but just even in general, when you're up around 4,000 feet, like you're going to deal with -10 wind chills. Last year, we had a few days that were in the -20s where we were out. So it's not impossible to hike in conditions like that. You just have to be careful. You have to know what you're going for. And I did want to call out on that topic of heat management is that everybody is different. What works for you isn't going to work for someone else. I know like myself, like I usually can get away with soft shell pants and like a Smart Will 250 gram layer and like a vest, fleece vest or something like that most of the time when I'm actually hiking, even if it's like -10 degrees, and you get moving. The whole goal is really not to sweat, and also to make sure you're layering up kind of before you break tree line. Usually there'll be somewhere on a trail, if you know you're going to bust out on Pierce, for example, like try to get layered up before you're going to actually break out sort of above tree line. You might be more exposed to the wind. So that's such a big part of it. And also being my other trick or whatever you want to call it, one habit that I always do, no matter, even if I think it's going to be really cold or it's going to be a more mild day in the winters, I tend to crack 2 sets of hand warmers when I'm at the car before I even hit the trail. And I will put 2 in a pair of mittens. So 1 each in a pair of mittens, then I'll throw 2 in my pocket. In worst case, I don't use them in the day, but you want hand warmers to be warmed up when you need to use them. You don't want to be cracking them when you're losing your dexterity on the trail, and kind of fumbling around and doing it in the snow, or maybe in those things. Of course, they're like white little packets, so they're also super easy to lose in the snow if you're not if your dexterity's gone, you're not really handling them super well. So that's kind of the other thing I would just call out.
Yeah, I have the rechargeable hand warmers that are instant.
Cool.
Which is nice. So, Taylor, have you done videos on winter hiking advice?
Yes. I think the last video I actually put out was 5 mistakes that people make winter hiking. And
Perfect.
I got the ideas from reading Search and Rescue and see what the common mistakes were. But then I went to physical therapy. I don't know if you know Josh Brooks.
Yeah.
But he knows you guys. And I asked him what his biggest mistake that he sees, and he said the heat management. That's the biggest winter tip he could give. So
yeah. You know what my biggest, and I still do this, and I think that bit me, Nick, when I did that hike with the bonds with you guys where I had to turn back, is that I don't, in the winter, like I don't drink and eat enough when I'm on trail. Like I have no problem in the warm weather, but because I feel like I maybe I do manage my sweat pretty good, like I don't get that thirsty, and I have to remember to drink more and hit electrolytes because I tend to cramp up.
Yeah, it's tough. I think, again, like just because you're not hot and you're not sweating as much, people aren't thinking you're losing hydration as much, or you're drying out. But when the air is super cold, usually it's super dry. So even when you exhale, you're losing a ton of moisture.
Yeah.
And yeah, like using electrolyte, like I'll use liquid IV or scratch. Like I think in your drink mixes can make a big difference. And I also want to call it too, like none of us are perfect at this. Like I'm bad at heat management sometimes too. You're like, oh crap, I'm way too sweaty right now. So it's just kind of it's a continual learning process, but you do need to get sort of a baseline and maybe go somewhere smaller and see how hot you get and get some sort of idea to kind of see what works for you as far as hiking in the winter.
Yeah, and for listeners, we'll link these episodes. Taylor, I'll find that that video that you just put out, and I'll link that as well in the show notes. And then there's a whole bunch of gear lists that Rebecca has for people to just kind of break down, and because that's where I think a lot of people get confused: is what kind of pants do I have to buy? What are gaiters?
It can be overwhelming for sure.
Yeah, it's expensive. And then I would say that the other thing is when you're getting started, like Willard is a good one to go mess around with. Like you don't have to have all your gear ready to go. You can probably make it up Willard with micro spikes, and there'll be 1 million people there on a Saturday. And then Lonesome Lake is the other one.
Those are perfect.
Yep. So anyway, we'll keep reminding people about winter hiking as we go along into the season. But reach out to Stomp too over Instagram. He loves to respond to questions. So if you have any questions, just hit us up on the Instagram. Not Facebook though. We don't monitor that. All right. So now I wanted to move into a little bit of national news here. And Taylor, you can give us some perspective on this. There's an older hiker that's missing, 67-year-old. He's a Harvard grad, but he's a professor at Southern Methodist. He's an avid hiker, and he was out hiking in Blood Mountain. I don't think he was doing I don't think he was section hiking the AT. He was just out and about. And I know that area, from what I understand, it's not just the AT. There's like a whole series of trails near there, but he's gone missing, and they've been looking for him for about a week or so. I guess he's been missing since November 11th, and we're on the 18th right now, so no sign of him. Can you describe the lay of the land there? And is it? I'm assuming it's a big enough area where you could go missing pretty easily, right?
Yeah. So I've hiked Blood Mountain 3 times because it's about mile 30 of the Appalachian Trail, and going up I'd say the south side. I don't know the directions, but going up, it's very straightforward. You just kind of come out of the woods and you're at the summit. You have the shelter up there. You have some viewpoints. But then going down the other side, I would say that was definitely a lot trickier to find the trail, because you'd go through some bushes and then it would be wide open, like big rock slabs. And then it would kind of be a little difficult to find kind of where the trail went after that rock slab. And that happened a couple times. So I would say if you were going down that way in that area, the trail might be a little hard to find. You could get off.
Right. And that's the way he came up. So he came up basically from that main parking lot and then was heading, I guess you'd call it southbound.
Yeah.
So he came up that area. It's about a 2-mile stretch.
Yeah.
Doesn't look like the elevation's that crazy. It's about 1,500 feet of climbing.
Yeah. So. Yeah. So if he started, I think that's Neil Gap going southbound. Yeah, I would say that right before you get to the summit, it could get a little tricky.
Yeah, so they haven't found him, so I don't know. I mean, I'm assuming they will locate him. Unfortunately, the longer this goes on, the worse it gets. But I guess his daughter had said that he's a pretty avid hiker and outdoors person, so hopefully he's just hunkered down. And I don't know what the weather's like. I haven't really been looking at the temperatures, but I have to imagine it gets a little cold around this time of the year. So, but hopefully we'll keep an eye on this one and update people if there's any developments on this. The names of the mountains down there, there's a mountain called Slaughter Mountain, and then there's Blood Mountain. What is going on down there?
I haven't heard of Slaughter Mountain, but yeah, that does sound a little terrifying.
Yeah, it's a little crazy. Do you know the story behind Blood Mountain? Did they talk about that when you're through hiking?
No, I don't.
That what happened there?
No.
So this is a little. Do you get freaked out over true crime stuff?
No.
You don't? Okay. So there's a Hulu documentary about this, but in 2008 there was a hiker. Her name was Meredith Emerson, and she went for a hike. And again, this Blood Mountain area, there's like Vogel State Park. And then it connects into Blood Mountain and the Appalachian Trail. But she went for a hike with her dog, and she's 24 years old, and she didn't return. People had spotted her on trail because it's a pretty busy area, and when they were looking for her, I guess apparently they found the dog, and this initiated a search where people were like, well, the dog's around, so she's got to be around. So she disappeared. There was investigators that were investigating this. Everybody kept saying that there was this guy that was acting weird. He was like in his 50s or 60s. he was wearing like hiking gear, but he had a police style baton and a knife on his belt. People were kind of like, yeah, this guy seems a little sketchy. And eventually they got a tip from somebody who had pointed them to a guy whose name was, let me just pull it up here, Gary Hilton. So the police started investigating this guy, and sure enough, it turned out that they were able to track back his vehicle to the area, and eventually, as they talked to him, they were able to find out that yes, he ended up killing Emerson, and then they started getting him to start talking about his whole history. And it turned out so now they call this guy the National Forest serial killer. So over the course of 2007 to 2008, he killed a couple in Pisgah National Forest in North Carolina and confessed to that one. Then he also killed a 46-year-old Florida woman in Apalachicola National Forest. And then finally he got caught with Meredith Emerson, but they also suspect that he killed maybe up to 3 or 4 other people, and they don't have really any tracking on this guy from going back into the 2000s. So it's likely that he's probably killed more victims. So pretty crazy. You dodged a bullet there, Taylor, when you went through to Blood Mountain, right?
I guess so.
Yeah. So next time you go through there, it's a little creepy now.
I'll be a little more scared next time.
Yeah. So Gary Hilton, the National Forest killer. So
wait, Mike's ruining hiking Blood Mountain for everybody.
I was looking at it, I'm like, Blood Mountain, Slaughter Mountain. I gotta look in here and see what's going on there. So
creepy.
Yes. So anyway, but that's the missing man on Blood Mountain. We'll keep an eye on that. Then I'll include the links on the show notes about Meredith Emerson and the documentary. And then I'll also include some details on this guy, Gary Hilton. So I don't know if he's ever been up in New England or not.
Hopefully not.
Hopefully not. So.
Are you ready for Slasher's Beer Review?
Nick, this is your time. You had put together some gear recommendations, and then I think you wanted to riff on this with Taylor because both of you have little ones, and you want to talk a little bit about gear for carrying your kids, right?
Yeah, sure. So a couple of things I think Taylor will probably have a great perspective on here. So in the Belknaps this weekend, I tried out some Ultra Lone Peak 9s. I've had the Lone Peak 8s and the Lone Peak 7s before. Kind of was coming off the Hoka Speed Goats. Enjoyed the Hokas. I used them mostly through this summer. They're finally beat up enough. But kind of just the Ultras to me just seemed immediately more comfortable. I think the Max Track sole that Ultra has seems to offer a bit better grip than the Hokas and the Vibram soles. That's just me. They work better for my foot, it seems like. So I think I'll probably stick with Ultras more in the future unless I see a sale. But I was kind of curious, Taylor, what were you using for shoes out there on the AT?
So I started the Appalachian Trail with Ultras. I forget what number I was on at that point. Yeah. But at Mountain Crossing, so right after Blood Mountain, I went into the shop with some foot pain. I think going up Blood Mountain, I had these sharp pains in my foot. So I went to try on some new shoes, and the guy that was working there gave me Saucony Peregrines. And so this was March of 2021. So I've only hiked in Sauconys since then. Probably gone through 6 pairs.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like once you find something that works, and especially, you've hiked such distance on them, so you know they work for your foot and for you hiking.
Yep.
The Ultra is one thing. I know some people have trouble with the zero drop. If you go to that immediately, it affects, I think it depends kind of your foot type and things like that. It can kind of really crop up different pain, especially if you're not used to it. But they worked pretty well for me. So that was kind of my first gear take. I had another thing.
Well, Nick, I got a question here for Taylor. So Taylor, sure. When you get rid of the Ultras, I feel like the Ultras may be the shoe that has like the zero drop, and then you end up getting Achilles issues on them. Yeah. But the question I have for you is, when you were at Mountain Crossing, did you toss your shoes up in the tree, or did they just take them from you?
I did not. My Ultras seemed pretty brand new, so I just kind of left them there in case another hiker wanted to take them for free.
Yeah, that's
but,
cool.
Yeah,
I was just curious about that. So you only throw them up if you're going to quit the trail.
Yeah, yeah. I figured throwing them up would probably give me bad luck.
Right. Good.
Yeah, we don't want that for sure. And a couple other things. I think a lot of people, we were texting back and forth too, Mike. I think about REI sort of has some crazy sales going on right now. So I had old Keen, like, I don't know if you call it ankle, like sneaker cut style boots that I've had sort of for the shoulder season hiking. Like when it's going to be cold enough that I feel like my feet are going to be cold, that I don't want to wear trail runners. I did wear trail runners and saw some snow in the Belknaps and my feet were fine, so it wasn't a big deal. But I did pick up some new Keen head out hiking boots. So I've never tried those before. I do have the Keen Revel 2s, I think, for winter hiking boots. So I kind of just base it off sizing. And also the fact that at REI with a coupon and they were on sale, it was like $60 or something stupid to get them. So be trying those out probably a little bit November, December. And then I picked up a new pair of REI Activator soft shell pants, which we were talking about sort of winter hiking. Those work really well for me in the winter. I've never had to really wear hard shell pants. So if you do tend to get cold legs, maybe they won't work out super well for you. And the most important thing about these things, and actually it's even in section hikers, that they're one of the highest rated soft shell pants for butt sliding down mountains in the snow in the winter, which can be a really important thing. That being said, I've ripped the butt on, I think, about every pair I've had of them and end up patching them with gear tape when I do that.
You need to get the Scooty Booty.
Yeah, maybe I need a Scooty Booty or some sort of plastic sled. Yeah. Haven't graduated to that yet.
Right.
So Taylor, do you have one kid, two kids, or
one kid? Yeah,
Mike mentioned
he's 1.5.
One kid. Okay. Have you got her out hiking yet at all?
Yeah, I hiked a lot with her. She was born last June of 2024, and I immediately started taking her out. I did 1 mile of the AT when she was 3 weeks old. So we got right in, and then I hiked with her until about April, but that's when I tore my meniscus in my knee and I had to stop.
Oh geez. All right. Yeah. I remember you mentioned that in email.
Yeah.
Retroactively, congratulations.
Thanks.
But yeah, so you'll probably be able to speak to some of the stuff, and maybe as she gets a little bit bigger too. But so kids hiking boots, if my daughter's a little over 3 now, really can't find them in the major brands. Like I don't think you see Merrell's until they get quite a bit bigger, their feet get bigger, or like actual legitimate hiking brands that have boots for kids. So that kind of left me and my wife to look up just sort of on Amazon and looked up reviews. So I did want to shout out, and we have a link for them, but they're called Nahamsha child hiking boots. This is her second pair that she's actually had. They work really well for Rylan, my daughter. They're pretty durable. They seem to have decent grip, decent kind of foot protection. They're not too bad to get on. They are like full over the ankle boots, so it can be a little tough trying to get them on your toddler's feet. You kind of got to like almost wedge their feet in, and almost feels like you're going to break their ankle, which doesn't feel great, but you kind of do get used to putting them on after a while. Nice and durable, again, good grip. They seem about as good as any other ones I've tried. She's been hiking in sneakers kind of up until I actually ordered them like this past week, because I'm like, in winter she needs to have something a little bit thicker than sneakers. Like her feet are going to get wet and cold, and that's not good. So did want to shout out those seem to work pretty well. Is your daughter hiking at all? Like, is she walking at all yet, Taylor? Or like, do you think she'll be kind of in that boat soon?
She started walking pretty early at like 9 or 10 months.
Okay.
But
whoa, she's going to be super.
That's like a
prodigy.
Yeah, that is early. There you go.
Yeah, we've taken her little hikes around campgrounds and stuff, and she just has these little cheap Walmart shoes. But I'll have to look into what you recommended.
Cool. Yeah. And I'd be curious if you come across anything that works well. Let me know.
I did see.
But yeah, those Nahamsha.
I did see baby Sauconys, and I almost bought them, but we weren't quite ready for those when I saw them.
Yeah, I mean, you can buy those shoes. I'm like, I don't know if I want to spend that much on them. Like, I shouldn't say they don't. The real brands do have them, but sometimes they can be a bit pricey. So second on that agenda, sort of hiking with kids, is carrier packs. So I've had the Osprey Poco carrier pack since she was born. I think it's rated to up to like 58.5 pounds. I ended up looking at, which seems kind of crazy. Or 48.5 pounds, excuse me. So it's got a pretty good rating on it for weight. It's worked really well. It's got fairly good storage, I think, especially once you get to the age where you're not carrying diapers or things like that anymore in the pack, or like a changing sort of mobile station and stuff. My one gripe about the pack is that the little holes where your kids' feet basically slide in are incredibly small. So especially with these newer boots that she's got on, it's like you can kind of like wedge them in and wedge them out like every time you're taking her in and out of the pack, which just gets to be a pain in the butt after a while. Frankly, I wish they made it adjustable or something like that. And the other thing that I'm starting to learn as she's gotten bigger, like even though she's 3, she's like fairly tall, our daughter. And the logistics of trying to fit a kid in a carrier pack with like 3 or 4 layers on, like I was trying out the night before being like, okay, like what's going to work? She has a puffy jacket, but a lot of times kids' puffy jackets aren't super suitable for hiking. Like they're very big and bulky. They're not like a fleshed down puffy that you're going to get from REI or Patagonia or something like that. So this has been a whole interesting sort of like learning process for me. I kind of bundled her up in like a long sleeve thermal and like a sweatshirt, and then she had sort of had a hoodie over that and almost like a fleece jacket. Kind of trying to make sure she wasn't too hot, but definitely don't want her to be cold. I brought a puffy with me that she never used, but that's sort of its whole own ball of wax in itself, is sort of just figuring out how to get your kid in that pack in the winter as they get a little bit bigger. Gonna probably try to see if I can find some sort of slimmer jackets for her or something like that. It's just kind of a pain. If anybody out there too has recommendations for what you use with your kid, absolutely let me know. And then one sort of final note I had, at least in terms of like gear with like toddler or young kids, and I'm sure Mike, you're probably familiar with this with having 3 daughters too, is that it's like arguing with her to put a hat on or gloves on. Like it was like if I put the hat on her, she had to take the ponytail out, and then it's like I got if I wanted to put her hood on, I had to put her ponytail back up to make it comfortable in the hood. Like it was like a whole thing of like, I'm like, I don't care. Like I just need to get something on your head right now because it's like 20 degrees and we just need to keep you warm. But it was like, it's probably comical if you're watching me from the outside, like trying to get this accomplished. But
this is probably why I never took my kids winter hiking. I would just basically take them sledding once in a while, and they would complain the whole time. And then I remember taking them to like a place where you had to sled, and you paid like $40 a kid, and they complained after one run, and we left, and they were like, "We want hot chocolate." So
yeah, it's interesting. I mean, she has mittens on that seem to work pretty well too. Those are kind of hit or miss with sizing as well. I was joking with my wife that I want to just duct tape them on her jacket next time so she can't take them off, but she does need to be able to take them off to eat like food and stuff. So that's kind of its own challenge in itself. And then I guess sort of one final note, is just, it's funny. Like there's little things like in your head. Like I didn't think about kind of like teaching her about ice and snow. And like the first time we just were going up Gunstock, Piper and Belknaps, and like we started to see sort of dustings of snow on Gunstock, and like she wants to stop every time she sees a snow pile, which is kind of adorable. But like you were like, we need to keep moving. Like I know it's snow, it's like, it's awesome, but it's just kind of, it's interesting to see the sort of the shoulder season of hiking through her eyes. And also like learning not to step on ice. Like she thought it was awesome shuffling on ice at first, and then she sort of fell on her butt one time. Not like really hurt herself, but just kind of enough to be like, oh, that's why daddy is telling me not to like slide on the ice all the time, probably. So it was just kind of a very interesting experience, sort of taking my daughter on her first, I'd say like shoulder season hike, where she was actually hiking a fair amount on her own 2 feet.
Well, we'll take her up Mount Washington and we can just send her down the cog. She'll be fine.
Yeah, there you go.
Do you have like visions of having your daughter be like one of these young kids that hikes the 4,000 footers very, very early, or you're just going to take it one mountain at a time?
I think so. I think it would be great if she wanted to, but I'll see if she's interested in it. But of course, anytime she'll want to hike, I'll go with her. I think that'd be cool. I think maybe she could do the AT when she's a kid.
She could do that too.
Who knows?
It depends on the kid.
Right on.
Yeah.
So I had 3. I had 2 with attitudes and 1 that was chill about hiking. So
yeah, she hasn't really hiked a good trail on her own yet, so I haven't seen if she enjoys it yet. But we'll see. Probably by the spring.
Right. So good luck with your kiddos. My kids are all in their 20s now, and I'm dealing with more expensive problems than what you guys have, I think.
Caroline is out of the pack now, to say the least.
She is. But I got a couple of gear things. I got 2 new backpacks, you guys. So my daughter's boyfriend, he needs like that's another thing that we didn't even talk about with winter hiking, is the tricky thing with winter hiking is that you need typically a bigger backpack. So in the summer, like I carry a 25 liter. I could probably shove everything I need into my 25 liter, but I don't want to deal with the headache. So I like a bigger pack so I can pull stuff out. So I got him he needed a winter pack. So I got him the new REI Flash 50, which is, this thing's pretty cool. I was looking at it. It's expensive. It's $300. So I don't want to spend that much money on him, but I got a 20% discount and then I got a gift card. So I was like, I'll bite the bullet. So we got him that, but it's the REI Flash 50. This pack is 1 pound, 14 ounces. So it's the same weight as the Hyperlight Southwest 3400, which is a 55 liter pack. So I was pretty impressed with that. And it looks like it'll be fine to like store the what do you call it? The snowshoes and all that stuff on there. So we'll work on that. But I got it was $2.99. I got 20% off, and then I had a $50 gift card or whatever. So you can get deals on it. And then if you're a new REI member, you can get the 20% discount and then use a $30 off coupon as well. So you can fiddle with it a little bit. But so far, so good. I've been wearing it around a little bit. And then I got a second backpack, which I talked about this a little bit. I'll link this in the show notes. You cannot get this backpack in the United States. It is a India backpack. It's called Wildcraft 45 liter. They call it a rucksack, but it's basically a backpack. But I bought that when I was in India. Nobody else has this backpack in all of New England except for me. So I'm very excited about it.
If you see someone with a Wildcraft, you know it's Mike.
Yeah, it says Wildcraft on the back. I'll put a picture up in our social media, but I think it's pretty cool because nobody else has it, except in India.
So did the boyfriend need a backpack? Was that like on his wish list for this year, or are you trying to just sort of be like, you need to go hiking more?
He's been using my stuff. He's been using my stuff.
He's been using your stuff. He's finally yeah. So that's kind of cool. My father-in-law gave me golf clubs, so
he did.
That's good. Like, well, it was used golf clubs, but it was kind of his way of being like, okay, so now you're going to go golfing. It actually worked.
Were you married already, or were you just the boyfriend?
I think I was just the boyfriend still. I had been around for a while though. You got to watch out, Devin, if you're ever listening to this. Right, but he's going to get you into hiking, I think.
He's playing video games. He's not listening. Taylor, when you were with your now husband, but he was like not even your fiance, did your family buy him nice gifts, or were they still holding out to make sure that they approved?
I think my husband had enough toys on his own that no one needed anything.
They didn't need.
He's into boats and skiing, and those are like his only 2 hobbies. So I think everyone just kind of let him be with those.
Right. Yeah, boat's expensive hobby. I've been that's going to be my future hobby too.
Yeah. So he's a boat mechanic and works at a marina. So he's got the hookups.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Yeah. I may have to, when I actually do boat shopping, I may have to reach out to you and you can hook me up. He can do the audit for the boat if I buy one.
Yeah, he does a lot of boat inspections for his friends and make sure they're good before people ever even think about it. He rips people apart and tells them everything that's wrong with their boats.
I watch so many videos on YouTube about that stuff. That's like my little obsession right now, is like the boat mechanics, and then also the boat ramps. I watch people in Miami, they put their boats on and off the boat ramp, and the husband and wives, they argue about like who's supposed to do what. It's
we went on
I guess it's a little weird, but I like it.
Yeah, we went on a vacation to Miami, and our first stop, we went straight from the airport to this place where I guess there's really good boats or really stupid boat drivers, and we just sat there and watched them all day. That was our vacation.
Yeah. Yeah. I get that. There's Haulover Inlet. He'll know what that is.
Yeah, that's where we were.
You can watch the boats go across.
Yep.
Right? That's it. That's where, all right. So I got something in common with your husband there.
Yeah.
Let's dive into some White Mountains history, shall we?
So Taylor, just changing subjects for a second. Do you like White Mountain history? I think you've done a couple of videos on history. You've touched on it a little bit, but you like the history of White Mountains, right?
I would say I'm not much of a history person. I don't. It's not my strong suit.
All right. Well, I pulled a couple, so I'm going to educate you now.
Lucky for you,
please.
Mike is.
Yeah. So
you can inform me.
I've got two topics that. I got two topics.
She's like, you didn't sign up for this.
There's the Blueberry Rebellion on Mount Chikora we can talk about. I've touched on this one a little bit. And then there's also the naming of the presidential range. And I want to bring up a couple of things that maybe you hadn't thought about before. But what do you want to start with, the blueberries or the presidential range?
We'll do the presidential.
Okay. So the presidential range, do you know the order of how they named the presidential range?
No, I don't.
Okay, so most people think, if you look at it, you would say that Washington's the highest. He was the first president. Then you've got Adams, who is second. That's the second highest, and he was the second president, right? And then Jefferson's the third. So it makes sense up until that point. But where everything falls apart is that Monroe is actually higher than Madison, but Monroe was the fifth president, and Madison was the fourth, so it doesn't work out because the elevation piece of it. The other thing is that most people in the late 1800s, they thought that Mount Adams was named after John Quincy Adams because John Quincy Adams, who was the fourth president, was more well-known than or more well-regarded than John Adams in this area. So what really happened is that there was I guess there was some discussion in one of the Appalachian journals in the late 1800s where people argued that really the way that they should have done the naming was Washington, and then Adams should have been named where Jefferson was, and then Jefferson, and then Madison, and they should have done them in that order where there was 4 consecutive presidents going basically left to right so that you can read it, but they didn't do it that way. They ended up basically screwing the order up. And the explanation after they did some research is that the people that ordered the mountains, they basically just picked the most majestic mountain for Mount Washington. Then they decided to pick the second most majestic mountain for Adams, and then the third most majestic for Jefferson. So there's no rhyme or reason or order to it. And that's how they ended up screwing up Madison and Monroe. So Madison should be what should be Monroe, and Monroe should be Madison if they went in the elevation order, but they did not. They screwed it up because they basically just looked at them and decided which one would be the most majestic. So there's no order or rhyme or reason to it, and there's no basically explanation other than that just when they named them, they just winged it.
Interesting.
Yep.
I was going to say, I knew that those were swapped for order, but I assumed it was just because they had the elevations of them incorrect at the time.
That's what I thought too, but they didn't even factor in the elevation. They just looked at them and said, like, this is the prettiest mountain and this is the second prettiest.
It's also weird to me that Monroe is actually taller than Madison, but I guess that makes sense. It seems weird because it's just a bump, but I don't know. Yeah,
you wouldn't think it would be. So, all right. So the next one here is the Blueberry Rebellion. So this takes us to Mount Chikora. So Mount Chikora is one of the most photographed, most painted, most romanticized peaks in New Hampshire. But behind that history is a little bit of like frontier capitalism that went on. So on one side, you had a guy that was running a toll road up the mountain. So Jim Liberty, he had a toll road if you wanted to go in through the normal way that we go up on Piper Trail and Liberty Trail. And then on the other side, you had a whole group of farmers led by a guy named Nathaniel Berry, who basically was sick of the toll road situation, and then they got into it with a private landowner. So in the 1880s, Jim Liberty, who I think he was like a first generation immigrant, he set up this business on Mount Chikora. This is a French Canadian, so he was known for smoking a clay pipe. He played an accordion, and he would like to charge people for hiking up the mountain. So in 1887, he got permission from local landowners to improve what they called the old bridle path on Chicora. So he widened it and cleared it out. And by 1889, he had the route formally incorporated with the state of New Hampshire, and that gave him the legal right to collect tolls. So I think what happened in this one is it's Piper, and then it cuts off, and then it hits where that Jim Liberty cabin is. That's where the Liberty House was. And when you got there, you had to pay 3 cents if you were on foot, and then 6 cents if you were in a carriage. Right. So he basically was making about $700 to $800 a year, which back then was a huge amount of money. And he was able to then buy horses and a farm and a barn in Tamworth. And he turned this whole thing into quite a commercial enterprise. The hikers grumbled quite a bit about the whole situation, but they just dealt with it. And then at the same time, there was a group of local farmers that had bypassed the whole toll situation because they lived on the west side of Chicora, and for generations, these farmers had used a traditional path to reach the blueberry patches that were high on the mountain. And in order for them to get there, they had to cut through a private landowner's property. So they were basically like, we're not paying the toll. We want to get up to Chicora to collect the blueberries. And suddenly the landowner there decided that he was going to block the passage, and he claimed that his land rights overrode the trails that were in there. So the locals were basically faced with, they couldn't get up through the local landowner's property anymore. They refused to pay the Jim Liberty tax. So basically they all got together and they decided, screw this, we're just going to find a way to get up the mountain. So a group of them got together with their axes and they cut through the west side, kind of the back side of the mountain onto, and they created basically in 2 days what is now known as the Brook Trail. So I don't know, Taylor, if you've ever gone up the Brook Trail or not, but it's basically you've got the Piper parking lot. If you go around Lake Chicora and hit the trail that goes up from the west side, kind of near Passaconaway and that direction, that's the Brook Trail right there.
Okay.
And that's how they created it, so that they could bypass all the landowner and the toll guy, and that's how one of the trails was made.
Interesting. I'll think about that next time I go hiking.
Cool. Right.
All for the blueberries.
Right. And that trail is a tough trail. It's steep, and it's once you get above tree line, it's a lot of scrambling. So I think that they probably didn't have to work too hard on the above tree line piece of it, but below tree line, they had to cut a lot of trees down to open it up. So typical New England rebel behavior.
Excellent.
Okay. So on to the next bit here. So Nick, you do a music minute, so why don't you do that?
So first, I did want to shout out, I believe our friend Lynn posted some videos, but Stomp did an excellent job with the national anthem at the Rescue Me 5K. That was the other weekend. So good job, Stomp. It seems like he has kept the job. I think that's the second time he's done the national anthem for the event now. But really, really great job. Not the easiest thing to sing, I think, especially outside when it's cold and dry and everything. So you crushed it, buddy. Excellent job. And as far as for this week's album, I don't actually have an album this week. I actually just sort of had a new artist to check out. Was kind of cruising through Sirius's XMU station, and they have a subset of a station that just plays all new sort of indie bands. So there's this new band out called Witch Post. Heard their single Twin Fawns, really enjoyed the track, and ended up looking them up from there. So Witch Post was formed in 2022, and it's composed of Montana native Dylan Fraser and Scotland's Alaska Reed. Their first single released was Chill Out last year in 2024. It's done really well. They subsequently released the singles Rust, Dreaming, Changeling, and Twin Fawn, which I recently heard and kind of led me down here. Those have all sort of been released several months apart. Their EP Beast was recently released in 2025. Good stuff. Really enjoyed listening to it. So kind of how they were formed, Fraser reached out to Reed about collaborating after hearing her album Bad Bunny while making rail trips between Edinburgh and London back in 2021. And eventually they started producing music together. So just kind of a shout out to them. Check them out. Looking out for hopefully a full album from them at some point. And in my opinion, just good stick season music. It's kind of this Americana indie rock kind of vibes with acoustic and electric, and it's just pretty stuff. A lot of great harmonies as well.
Excellent. So we'll check it out here. And I noticed that your pattern is you pick an indie group and then you pick a commercial group the next one.
Yeah, I'm trying to do that.
Right. All right, Nick. So do you want to go into our sponsor here?
Sure. So Bergen Outdoor. Bergen Outdoor makes performance apparel with a purpose, designed and sewn right here in the White Mountains and made for those who explore them. Join Bergen at the Full Conditions Winter Kickoff on November 22nd. From the summit of the Pemmy Peak to the Colonial Theater, gear up and give back at BergenOutdoor.com. And I don't know if you guys can see, but I'm wearing a Bergen vest that I got last year. It's very nice and toasty, and I enjoy it. So they make good stuff.
Yeah, I have a Bergen problem. I've been purchasing too many of those sweatshirts, but I'm going to buy another one this weekend. So I guess I'll add to it.
We all will.
Yeah. Awesome.
We all know that hiking a mountain can be hard at times. So here's a corny dad joke to help you get over it. But-um-bum.
All right, I have some dad jokes for you, Taylor, here. So what does bear poop smell like?
What?
Unbearable. It's unbearable. Get it? Which rock group has 4 guys who can't sing or play instruments?
What?
Mount Rushmore. Get it? Rock group.
Yeah.
So
good one.
You can share those with your husband.
I will.
Yes. Dad jokes.
Oh, I just thought of one of his go-tos is what's brown and sticky?
I give up.
A stick.
Oh, nice.
Well, he works with little kids at Loon Mountain in the winter, so he has some like 5-year-old jokes that he likes telling them.
Yes. Yeah, no, those are good ones there. So I very rarely have we ever got anyone that can even do a dad joke. So you've done 2 already, which is good. So, all right. So moving on here. So if you need stickers, SLASR stickers, you can get those at Ski Fanatics or Spinner's Pizza Parlor in Andover. If you want SLASR swag, you can go check out our Bonfire shop. You can choose between our super popular hoodies or our t-shirts. The color selection is great and they are priced to move. Help spread the word about SLASR and Represent Today. And then if you want to donate to us, I'm always looking to buy new equipment, and Nick is always looking to buy new microphones and nonsense. So you can check out SLASR's Buy Me a Coffee. And you can go ahead and do that. And then a shout out to Steve P., who I think bought some coffee for us. Nick, is that right?
He's actually becoming a SLASR senator, so he's Senator Steve P.
Oh, wow.
To us now.
Okay. So that means he's got like
Steve P.
Yeah, you can do like a monthly re-up and send us money and stuff, which is
love
great.
That. Thanks, Steve.
Perfect.
Hey, hold my beer. It's time to find out what Mike and Stomp are drinking. On this week's Beer Talk.
All right, so this is the part of the show where we do beer talk. Taylor, do you drink beer at all? Are you a drinker?
No, I haven't drank in a few years.
Not your thing.
Not a practice.
So, honestly, our guest, it's more common than not that they don't drink, so not a big deal. And neither one of us are drinking right now. Mm-hmm. I'm sick. I got pneumonia I'm dealing with, and then Nick is on sober October, November.
Yep.
So our beer segment sucks.
Not very exciting. Yeah. I actually have a non-alcoholic Guinness, so
you do
actually pretty good. Okay. Yeah, not too bad. Some of it exploded over the desk up here before it went on, but oh well, that's a me problem.
I knew we should have gone left back there.
Stomp, don't worry. I know it's this way. I've got a feeling in my gut.
Are you sure you're not about to have a bowel emergency?
Totally. We got this.
But I just blew out my hip. Fell down that gully with my 40-year-old microspikes.
Suck it up, Stomp. It's 4 p.m. We're at 3,500 feet. We got 9 miles back to the parking lot. Your leg may be broken, We got no cell connection and we can't feel our fingers, but we're finishing all of my list tonight. By the way, I need some water. I'm empty.
I would if I could see what I'm doing, but my headlamp batteries are dead.
You gotta be kidding me. What a chump. This is the last time I hike with you.
Whatever, mister. Do you know me? I have a podcast.
Whatever.
Let's find out what Mike and Stomp have been hiking.
Great. And then the next segment here, we do recent hikes. I've been sick. I haven't been able to hike. I did the recap of Hawaii, so I did do that. But then, Nick, you got out to the Belknaps, right?
Yeah, I finally got, I haven't been to New Hampshire since September 29th coming down from doing trail maintenance. So I was really itching to get up there. Really wanted to get to the Whites, but I've got Rylan with me and just wanted to avoid snow and ice and got some good intel from our friend Christy that there wasn't a ton of snow and ice up in any of the Belknaps yet. So figured it's a little bit shorter of a day trip. I haven't done one with Rylan yet, like a 2.5 hour, 2 hour, 20-minute ride from us. So yeah, we just looped up Gunstock, went over to Belknap and went over to Piper and we went down to Sweat. Sort of, Mike, do you remember that viewpoint, like when we had done it in the spring that had like almost like a sort of fire pit looking area? We kind of went down to there and then we sort of just came back up to Piper and went down. So it was a good loop. Carried her probably, I don't know, like 5-ish miles of the way, and she probably did like 1 or 2 miles and I don't know, 700-800 feet. She's kind of been in that ballpark pretty much when we go to places, whether it's Wachusett or whatever. But a nice day. We saw a little bit of ice, mostly avoidable. Saw some snow. It looked like they were blowing snow in Gunstock, so there was kind of a bit going up to the little summit ski area over there. And dusting in the woods, I'd say around Belknap. But yeah, great day overall. I really like stick season. I think sometimes it gets a bad rap. You get all those views through the trees and really spectacular views up to Washington from Gunstock in the fire tower on Belknap. Very breezy, not as bad as I think if we would have been at elevation, but definitely pretty gusty at times. And didn't get a picture, but we saw a porcupine coming down the trail from Piper. So we heard sort of a rustling off to the woods, and it was funny too. At a second, I was so excited. I'm like, I need to make sure I got her with me because I was like almost darting off into the woods. I'm like, it's a porcupine! Oh my god! And Rylan's like, it's a porcupine! So we're kind of like running off, and those things are pretty fast. He like got off the ground and was up in the tree and just started scaling across like pine trees like 20-30 feet above us, and he was gone before we could see him. Yeah. But pretty neat. I guess I don't know if they just munch on sort of bark and things like that on the ground or what. But
I don't know. Cool. They're surprisingly large though. The ones I've seen.
It was I don't know, like the size of a really big cat almost, like not lengthwise, but just like a chunky little guy. I don't know too if they hibernate or anything like that, or I would imagine they're probably just less mobile in the winter, so he's probably eating a bunch of food before it gets cold, I would think. But yeah, surprisingly fast and limber for his size. But yeah, that was pretty cool.
Awesome. And then future hikes, Nick, anything you got going on that you're going to be getting out there on?
Hopefully going to get out and do something before the full conditions event. We'll see how that works. I know the weather's kind of flipping back and forth between maybe rain and snow or really clear and cold right now. So hopefully the clear and cold kind of side goes out, and I'll probably just look at what I need for fall and what I got for open peaks in November. But that's about it.
Excellent. And I will be focusing on 52 with the views in December with my friend Jay, and then I'll be in Florida, and I'm going to attempt to hike a little bit of the Florida Trail again. I've tried it before. Florida's miserable.
Oh, cool.
It's Taylor, don't ever think about doing the Florida Trail. It's terrible.
I did the first mile of it last year.
You did? What'd you think?
I was terrified of the thought of crocodiles or alligators or whatever's down there.
Right. It doesn't matter. They're like
there's way too many animals down there that can bite you and stuff, I feel like, compared to here.
Yeah. There's no views, and it smells too. It's I don't know. I'm going to try it again. Like, I'm Central Florida, so I'll try to get out there, but I'm not excited about it. I prefer New Hampshire. But Nick, I think let's skip the notable listener hike, and then we'll talk to Taylor. So this is your segment, Taylor. Are you ready?
I am ready.
It's time for SLASR's Guest of the Week. Very cool, very cool.
Taylor, the New Hampshire hiker, we talked about it already. We did the intro. I think, Taylor, just my introduction to you was I started like paying attention to AT through hikers. And, there's this pattern, people will make the announcement video and then they'll make the gear video and whatever. So I watched a few of those people. I think I watched the girl who she did handstands. She had like the blonde dreadlocks. I forget. She was from Amesbury where I live. So I watched her a little bit, but there wasn't anybody that was really, that didn't grab me. And then I remember seeing your video, and it was a video where I think that you were answering questions about people were questioning your gear choices on your first AT, and the way you handled it, I was super impressed. I was like, she's not like getting rattled at all. She's confident. She knows what she's picking. And I said, honestly, like a lot of what she's choosing, it lines up with what I think makes sense. And then from there, I think I watched all of your entire journey on that. It was a 2021, I think.
Yes. Yeah.
It was.
That was my first.
Is that right? So
full through hike.
Yeah. Right. So I don't know what you did, and we'll talk about it in a little bit more, but like I feel like you figured out the formula to make it engaging, keep people interested, and then you didn't go on for too long. Yeah. And it's tricky, and we'll talk about it a little bit, but why don't I'll stop talking and you can just quickly introduce yourself and maybe just start by talking a little bit about your basic background and how you got into outdoor sports.
Yeah. It's crazy because when I was making all those intro videos to the Appalachian Trail, I had absolutely no backpacking experience. So I was just going off of what I've seen other people do on YouTube. And
right.
I think maybe that's what people related to, is that I wasn't some big experienced backpacker. I was just kind of learning as I went. But yeah, I guess I started hiking the fall of 2016. That's when I started my 4,000 footers. And I had done absolutely no hiking before that. I think I picked up that big, I think it was like the red guide that's like, I don't know, 4 inches thick and just has all the trails, all the mountains in New Hampshire. Just picked up that book, started flipping through it. I was like, I think I'll do the 4,000 footers. Saw some pictures on Instagram and started with Tecumseh, then Pierce and Eisenhower. And then once I hiked Pierce, I knew I had to do all of them because that one was just gorgeous. So I hiked.
That's always the gateway. That's what we always tell people, like bring people up Pierce for their first time. Mm-hmm. And if they get a good view, then they're going to be hooked.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I tell people now because that's exactly what happened to me. So I hiked the 4,000 footers, I think, in 3 years. Finished, I think the end of 2019, and then decided to do the AT in 2020. So that was just kind of my next big thing. And I just saw the whole. What was it?
Oh, sorry. When you made the decision, did you consciously think about like, well, life's coming at me, and things are going to change eventually, and I've got a window here where I can do this. And did you think about it consciously that like, you're only going to be able to have this opportunity to do this through hike and stuff for so many years, and then life's going to come at you?
Yeah, for sure. That was exactly my thinking. Cause I knew that was like my window of opportunity. Cause I knew I had a boyfriend at that time, but I knew I wanted to get married and have kids and have a big career. And I didn't want to have to wait until I retired to do the AT. So I knew that was my window. So I just I went all in. And I didn't even know what the AT was until I was, I think, 20 years old. And I was on Franconia Ridge and I saw people with huge backpacks. And I had no idea that they had hiked there from Georgia. I thought they were just day hikers with 60-liter backpacks. But then I figured it out, started watching videos on YouTube, and then I just got hooked. So I needed to do it myself.
Did you have any like early content create? Like I think of Dixie and Darwin as like the original ones. Like I saw a lot of their videos. Was anybody an influence to you, or did you just kind of find your own method when you decided you wanted to make YouTube videos?
Yeah. So when I got interested in the AT in 2019, I think there were maybe 2 or 3 different people who I watched on the AT who made videos every single day. They weren't the big ones like Dixie, but I think Marissa Neal, Julia Sheehan, and this...
Oh, yeah. I watched her, too.
Yeah. And then I watched this girl, I forget her name, but she hiked with her dog. So I think I had 3 girls that were all kind of my age that were making videos every single day. And so I watched all of theirs.
Did you do any videos when you were doing the 4,000 footers?
I don't think I did. Unless I, maybe towards the end, when I decided to do the Appalachian Trail and I wanted to have some practice making videos. I think that's when I started making videos and putting them on YouTube.
Nice.
But yeah, it wasn't until I got the idea to do the AT that YouTube even crossed my mind.
When we started this dumb podcast, like we were like, well, we'll put it out for 2-3 episodes, and no one will listen to it. But it did actually gain a little bit of traction. How long did it take you to realize, like, oh wow, people are like listening to me, and like this is something that I'm actually going to have to, now that I've put my foot in this, I'm going to have to like commit to doing this the entire hike. Yeah, I gained a lot of traction pretty quick. I don't know how. Like I did an announcement video on YouTube. I remember leaving work one day. I think I hiked Mount Roberts, or I was in the Castle in the Clouds area. And I just made a quick little video like, hey, I'm just making this video telling you I'm going to hike the AT just to hold myself accountable. And I posted that. And then I was looking at what all the past YouTubers did who vlogged their through hikes and kind of the content they were putting out. So I was like, okay, now I should tell them what gear I'm taking. I should tell them what I'm afraid of, and every step along the way, so people can kind of get to know me and my thought process before I actually got out on the trail. And it kind of helped because there was a big YouTuber. His name was Frozen. He vlogged his through hike, I think in 2018 or 2019, and he made a video about me. So like he had just through hiked the AT, and then he said, if you want to follow someone else, here's this new hiker named Taylor. And he had a big following, so he got a lot of his subscribers to come over and start watching my AT prep videos. So that helped. But yeah, making the videos definitely helped motivate me to keep going. Once I got like, I think 5,000 people watching my videos and subscribed, I'm like, well, I got to do this thing. Oh yeah, I know. Then the pressure ramps up too.
Yeah.
Did you have some sense of like some level of like I always think in terms of like, all right, well those stairs in Amicalola and Springer Mountain, like it can't be that hard if I've already done all the 4,000 footers. Like I can handle that elevation, because I feel like that's where a lot of people get the anxiety, is they're like, oh, it's going to be such a hard hike in the early stages. But I'm assuming you weren't that nervous about that, knowing that you've done all the 4,000 footers to start with. Did you find that those early hikes were maybe easier than New Hampshire, or what was it like down there in the beginning?
Yeah,
beginning of the hike.
Yeah, I definitely, a lot of people I talked to when I first started on the AT, I would tell them I'm from New Hampshire, and yeah, it definitely came a lot easier to me, because going into the AT, I had only ever hiked in New Hampshire. So that's the only hiking I knew. So going down to Georgia, it was still tough, but it wasn't New Hampshire. So everything I saw was just easier than what I was used to. And it was funny. There's a lot of river crossings with the logs going down across them. And I would just kind of hike over it really quick and didn't even think anything of it. And one point there were two ladies that watched me do it, and they were just like mind blown. They're like, how did you do that? Because they had stopped and they had stared at this log for like 5 minutes trying to figure out how to get over it. And I was like, oh, I don't know. I guess I'm just used to this. So yeah, hiking in New Hampshire really, really helped.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then, how long did it take you? So you can do those, I've seen those announcement videos and the gear videos. Those are pretty standard, but I think that I think hooked people is I don't know what it is about I watch so many of these videos and people are walking and talking and it just doesn't grab you. But for whatever reason, you found some formula where it works for you. Like the camera's not really moving too much and you can hear the audio is pretty good for you. So I think those are some keys, but how long did it take you to get the formula down where all right, well, this is what I'm going to cover in the day, and it became a little bit more consistent where you knew what worked and what didn't work when you started recording in 2021?
I think I got the hang of it pretty much right away because I had watched so many vlogs of people doing the hike themselves, and I knew what I liked in a video and what I didn't like. So going into it, doing the vlog of the day, I kind of had an idea of exactly what I wanted it to look like, what I wanted to talk about. Because you're hiking all day, there's not much to think about, so I would just think of the video. So before I would pull out my camera and vlog, I'd be like, all right, I'm just gonna say hello to the camera. I'm going to tell them the weather for the day. I'm going to tell them my plan. So I kind of just got to the point because I didn't like watching vlogs where people rambled and it went on and on. So I got to the point and then I would switch it up. If I felt like I talked too long, then I would show a little bit of a view. I would set up the tripod and show me taking a break and show what I was eating. And I wanted people at home to just kind of understand all of the aspects of the hike. And just kind of, I just always just got to the point. I didn't want people to watch my videos and be bored. So I always had just a clear vision of what I wanted to show.
Yeah, well, the formula you figured out definitely hooked because I think you got a lot of viewers, and it was interesting. And I actually felt like it was, I think Julia Sheehan, she was pretty good too about that, but I felt like after watching you that I had a sense of what the trail was like much better than I did watching some other folks that were doing videos. And I've kind of gone away from watching as much videos as I used to, but I think we're going crazy during COVID. We had nothing to do. So it was like watching people hike.
Yeah.
For a camera, did you have a GoPro or were you just using your phone? Or?
It was all on my phone. I figured that was the easiest thing to just film it on my phone, have all the video clips on my phone, and then just edit it. I just wanted the process as simple as possible so I didn't get tired burnt out. I didn't want to get burnt out, so I just made it as easy as possible, and it worked well.
Yeah, like Mike said, I think it's funny. I think I was watching at the time, there was a YouTuber who, I don't think he really got popular, but Chris Goes Outdoors, who did a lot of hiking videos, and then somehow ended up sort of following you after, it was probably like suggestion or something. But I really appreciate it too. I feel like you seem pretty down to earth even through YouTube and stuff. And obviously we're talking to you and you definitely are now. But I think people appreciate that you seem like fairly humble and fairly honest about a lot of it. Like you'd be like, if today kind of sucked, you'd be like, yeah, it's been a tough day. Like, I feel like not everybody does that in their hiking videos. It's always like, it's not always sunshine and rainbows on the AT kind of thing. Like you were pretty honest about like, yeah, like I'm hungry, or like today the weather's been tough, or like this day's been harder than I thought. Like, I think mentioning little things like that, as a viewer, like I really enjoyed that because it kind of humanizes it a little bit more than like the people that are out there. Like you see these videos of people just like, I'm crushing all, like there's no way someone's crushing it like 150% of the time. Like we're all like humans at our core. So
yeah. And I thought
that was really captivating.
Yeah. I knew a lot of people who were watching my videos either can't hike the Appalachian Trail and they want to see what it's like, or they want to hike the AT in the future and they're maybe using my videos to plan, or so I just really wanted to give everyone a clear mind of what it was like. And as I'm hiking, if something popped in my mind, I'd be like, oh, I got to tell them, I got to let them know. And so, yeah, I wanted everyone to be able to experience the trail with me.
In that theme, there's people that are planning right now. You know, you got people that anybody that's starting in February, I think, is a little nuts. But like March, April, you'll get people that are rolling onto the trail. What advice do you have for them to prepare for it, both from a gear perspective and then mentally and physically? How did you go about it?
Yeah, planning for the AT for me was just watching the vlogs. Like I really watched so many that going into it, I feel like I had such a good idea of what the trail was going to be like. And I feel like I didn't really have any surprises. So I watched a little too many vlogs. And then once you're out there, I had to always do whatever would, like, what I needed to do. So like, if I was hungry, I would stop and eat. If I was sore, I would stop and call a hostel and see where they could pick me up. So like, I just took care of myself. So I never got tired of the trail or burnt out, or whatever I could do in that moment to keep me happy, to keep me going, I did it. And sometimes what kept me going was doing a 25-mile day. So sometimes I needed to push myself, and that's what worked. There were weeks where I did a marathon every single day, and that like kept me motivated. So I really just took care of myself and my health and just whatever, because it's supposed to be fun. You're out there to have a good time. So whatever I could do in the moment to keep me happy is what I did.
Yeah, and I think watching you too, it was interesting because you always have this. I mean, the standard idea that you have with the AT is it's like, all right, well, you do 5 days and then you go into town and you reload up food and then you do another 5 days and every night's in a shelter. But I definitely got a better perspective from you that like you do have options. Like you don't have to be a slave to some supposed schedule. Like, you know, if you're not feeling it, like go into town. If you want to get a nice sleep in a bed, go to a hostel. And like the thing I didn't realize is like I guess it didn't connect until I really watched your videos on just like how attainable that is. Maybe I just always assumed that like maybe it's more logistically difficult, but I feel like maybe your videos just made it seem simple, but to me it seemed like logistically like you have a bunch of options to get off trail when you need to and then get back on pretty quick.
Yeah. So basically all the hikers have an app called Far Out, and that will have every single point of interest on the trail. So every single hostel, shuttle driver. So no matter where you are on the trail, you can find a hostel, a shuttle driver, a store, a restaurant. So it makes it logistically really easy. So most nights, I'm pretty sure I slept in a bed every single night in Georgia, because I'm just getting into the trail and just kind of getting accustomed to it. So I kept going into town, sleeping, and then going back to trail. But the further along, some nights I would crave just sleeping in my tent. But yeah, I would say on the AT, you can cross a road every 5 miles or on average. And every time you cross a road, there's going to be some sort of amenity, like a shuttle. Sometimes you can just walk to a store. A lot of the hostels are walking distance from the trail, so you can just walk there. So there is a lot, and that's why I like the AT compared to like the PCT and the CDT, because there's definitely not as much over there. But yeah, the AT is really good. A lot of things to do.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And I like that view of it, to realize that, like, you know, because I think about it, like, I don't think that I'm the type of person that would ever just say like, all right, I'm going to go out for 3-4 months on a thru hike, but I could do 2-3 weeks, and I could definitely see myself like taking my time and, you know, going into town and relaxing for a day or two. So it just made it seem a lot more attainable than I just didn't realize it until watching you. But I guess the other question I have is, as you're making your way up the trail, like I'm assuming the beginning part of the trail, you get a lot of people that maybe they're not going to make it for whatever reason. At what point does the trail change from a bunch of people that are maybe going to drop off to more of the people that are like they basically are committed to going the whole way? Like, does that happen in Virginia? Does that happen in Pennsylvania? Like, where do you realize when you've got the legit people that are going to make it?
Yeah. I'd say a lot of people in Georgia you probably won't see again, either because they drop out or your pace doesn't match up. But it's hard because I've never really hiked with a group. I've never found a group of hikers and kind of stuck with them. In 2021, I had a small group. We kind of met in the Smoky Mountains. So that's about 200 miles into the trail. And then I think that's at that point that the people I started seeing at mile 200, I started seeing a lot throughout the rest of the trail. And then when I hiked the trail the second time, it was all by myself. Didn't see a group of people that I kind of stuck around until Massachusetts. But I'm a different type of thru hiker. I'm more solo. I didn't really want a group because I like doing my own thing.
Right. Yeah. Because I would imagine that eventually, like if you do have a group, it'll work out because you'll find people that are the same pace. But I feel like you were moving pretty quickly too, so it's probably not as easy to find people that are going to do the same vibe. And then if you're going into town and they're moving forward, then all of a sudden, if you do join a trail family, then you're kind of stuck with waiting for them or catching up to them or whatever. Yeah. So it's less pressure. Yeah,
I didn't really want to ever have to make plans with others. If I wanted to go to town, I was going to go to town. I didn't want to have to talk about it or split rooms or do anything. So I was a little selfish in that way, but I really liked it. And I liked going into town by myself and kind of just having that alone time.
Yeah. Like you said, right? I could imagine like you're taking the time and the commitment to do that. Like it's supposed to be fun for you. So what you want to do, that's kind of like the theme of the thing. So it's like if you don't want to hike with other people, then why hike with other people?
Yeah. I tried to meet as many people as I could. So I'd say I had a lot of trail acquaintances. So when I would go into town or see people at shelters, I would know who everyone is, but I never made plans with them. And then I never stuck with them.
Did any of them start picking up on like, hey, wait a minute, I know who you are. Like I've seen some of your videos. Or were you under the radar until, I'm assuming by 2023 you weren't, but maybe 2021 you were still under the radar a little bit, or were people starting to recognize you?
I don't think I was ever under the radar. I think most people knew who I was.
No, everyone recognized you.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
That sounds weird saying, but yeah.
Was that, Yeah. I'm curious, and I've had this a little bit, like, sometimes you feel this pressure to, you've got listeners or viewers or whatever. Is it ever get uncomfortable? Do you feel like, oh man, I really just want to be by myself, or is it always easy to just talk to people? I'm
not that much of an extrovert, so I didn't love talking to a lot of people. The only time I didn't really enjoy it is when I remember going and checking into a hostel. I had just got there, and the owner of the hostel was going to give me a tour and show me where the bunkhouse was and the laundry and everything. And I took like one step in the hostel, and people were trying to get selfies with me and talk to me and ask me questions about YouTube. And it was awkward because I'm trying to get a tour of the place and I'm trying to settle in. I was starving. I probably needed a shower. So that's the only time that I think it bugged me. And I think sometimes people would ask me questions that I didn't want to answer. Like, where are you camping tonight? How far are you going? And like stuff like that. Right. It's awkward. Yeah. Like, I don't want to give any details of my plans, but it's also awkward not answering their questions. Because I've had people change their pace a little bit to keep up with me, and I didn't like that.
Yeah. Yeah. That
Definitely.
makes sense. You try to do your own
Yeah, it
thing.
was people that I wasn't friends with or close to. It was just people who just knew who I was that was just trying to keep up. So yeah, I had to be kind of
and then
vague.
Right, and that's good advice for anybody, I think. But as far as the safety piece of it goes, and not so much like just personal, but just the hiking and trail stuff. Like, did you ever get in any situations? Like, I know that in your last through hike, like you basically had that water crossing situation that was really sketchy up in Maine that you had to rightly, I think, bail out on. But was there any other really dangerous situations that you found yourself in over the? I don't remember anything aside from that one instance, but I'm sure there was probably some other situations where you were like, oh, that might have been a close call.
Yeah, that was definitely the scariest. I mean, going over Franconia Ridge was cold and windy, but it scared a lot of the hikers that I was hiking around, but I was used to it and I knew there was shelter at the end. I think I stayed at the hut after, so I knew everything would be okay. But I would say the scariest part is probably almost stepping on a rattlesnake. I think that shook me up a lot. That was
that would freak me out.
Yeah, that was in Pennsylvania, and I think I was just a couple inches away. I stepped on it and then realized once my foot was right there. And then I noticed it, and there was someone hiking behind me, and then the rattlesnake kind of positions itself in between us. And so, like, my hiking partner behind me couldn't get to me. I don't know, we were terrified. And then for the rest of the day or the week, every root, every stick looked like a rattlesnake.
Right. That, you know what that would freak me out is like that night if I had to set up a tent, I would be like, I'm zipping this thing up and I'd stay in the middle of the tent because I'd be afraid that a snake's going to get me. But that snake's probably talks to its friends still today and is like, remember when that lady almost stepped on me?
Yeah.
That was crazy.
Right. I did not like that.
That's a little nuts. And then, yeah. And then, but water crossings other than that scenario in Maine where you, could you just recap for the listeners what happened there?
Yeah, so it actually, that evening was the evening that my Garmin InReach went off. So I had accidentally poured a whole bottle of DEET bug spray on my Garmin InReach. They were in the same pocket. So my Garmin malfunctioned and it initiated the SOS button. And so all my emergency contacts were notified. Garmin was trying to call me, but I didn't answer the phone. I don't know, because I thought it was a spam. So, yeah, that was terrifying because once I realized what was happening, I looked at my Garmin and it said search in progress or whatever. What's your emergency? So I eventually got in contact with them and said, hey, no, like, I'm fine. I don't know why my Garmin keeps initiating the SOS, but I told them, I'm like, just ignore everything for the rest of the day. And it was pouring. It was cold and wet, and but I was on a summit. And so once I got down off the mountain, that's when I came across a river that's usually a dry river, maybe just like a little water crossing, like a water source, just enough water to fill up your water bottle. But this day it was a whole river. I took one step in just to see how deep it was and my feet didn't touch the ground. So it was over it was 6 feet
Yikes.
of gushing water. And I tried for probably 45 minutes to figure out a way to cross this river. There were some fallen trees. I walked upstream and downstream. And it was impossible, I thought. I saw a lot of self-bounders that day, and I have absolutely no idea how or if they crossed that river. But they were in big groups, so maybe they figured something out together or had a rope or whatever. But yeah, and the thing that made it the worst is that my mom was going to pick me up on the other side of the river, like 1 mile past this river. there was a parking lot, and it was in Rangeley, Maine. And so she was going to pick me up and drive me to town for that night. And I had no way to contact her because there was no service. My Garmin wasn't working. And even if I did get hurt, I didn't want to risk it because I couldn't use my Garmin. So that was scary.
Right.
But I ended up backtracking a little bit and found a road, which I thought was... Actually, no, I actually backtracked and hiked back up the mountain until I got service so I could call my mom to tell her I wasn't going to make it to her car, because if I never contacted her, she would have been sitting there all night scared. I would have never made it to her car. I could have pitched a tent right at the river crossing and waited, and it probably would have been fine by the morning, but I couldn't do that to her. So I turned around, ran up this mountain, called her, told her to look up this random dirt road that I didn't even know could allow vehicles. But she figured it out. I walked down and she picked me up at like 8 o'clock at night. So, and then I went home. That was the day I quit my thru hike because I had just had enough.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was a crazy story.
I think the world was just pointing to a sign to say, like, that's it, you're done for this one, so you have nothing to prove.
Yeah, and I didn't want to continue after that because the flash flooding in Maine that summer was just crazy. So that was probably going to happen time and time again, and I was on a time crunch to finish my thru hike.
Right. So you got a full-time job, which we do want to talk about. So do you want to plug your store at all and talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So I own my own gift shop, and it's called Nahamsha Gifts, and it's in Guilford, New Hampshire. I sell a lot of just New Hampshire-made souvenirs, and local people who make stuff come in and sell their items there. And I have this half of my gift shop that it's been in the works for years, but I eventually do want to turn it into like a hiking gear shop. So I've made it all hiking themed. So I have the board game that I made, which is Appalachian Trailopoly. So I'll plug that. And a bunch of, I have like backpacking meals and sunglasses, darn tough socks, and some small little hiking things, but eventually I do want to get into the big gear and have backpacks and sleeping pads and tents. So that's a dream of mine.
Yeah, I've definitely seen people out on trail with the New Hampshire shirts and gear too. So you sell New Hampshire themed gear too, I think. So I have to get down there, and I'll get up there, and I say down because I'm up in Maine quite a bit, but I got to get up there and buy some stuff.
Yeah, I have a moisture wicking New Hampshire shirt, just says New Hampshire across. So a lot of people have been getting those to hike. And this year I came out with a neon orange one. So good, like hunting season, high visibility shirts.
Nice. I may have to. Nick's very sweaty, Taylor, so maybe I'll pick one of those up for him.
Good.
So how long have you when do you open up New Hampshire Gifts and stuff?
I'm pretty sure I opened it up like the year after college. So graduated college in 2016, and I think I opened it up in the spring of 2017. And it's gone through a couple different locations. Like I was in Meredith, New Hampshire, and then in a different spot in Meredith, and then I moved to Guilford. But yeah, the space I'm in right now, it's a pretty big space, and I'm actually in the same building where my mom has her gift shop. So my mom and I both run gift shops in the same building, so it's kind of fun.
Is there any competitiveness between the two of you, or is it just kind of...
No, it's friendly competition.
That's fine.
But we try to sell different things.
I can't believe you opened your own business like right after graduating college.
Yeah, that was going to be my second comment. That's impressive.
Well,
I was such a train wreck after I graduated college. It took me
Yeah, my mom always had her gift shop.
She helped you a little bit, right?
So I kind of learned it from her.
natural progression. So that's awesome. So you can find out all about Taylor on NahamshaHiker.com. And then we'll also, what's the name of the YouTube channel? Is it Taylor the New Hampshire Hiker, or is it New Hampshire Hiker?
Yeah, Taylor the New Hampshire Hiker on YouTube.
Awesome. So I'll put the link in the show notes there. And then, so you're healing up, but you will be getting out. Are you working on any specific projects? Are you going to complete your winter 4,000 footers, or your any other crazy lists that you're going after?
Yeah. So I had knee surgery in September. I don't think I'll be clear until March, so I do have to skip the winter hiking season. But I do have 10 or 12 peaks left of the 52 with a view.
Okay.
I have 2 hikes left to complete my second round of the 48, so I definitely want to do that. And then I would love to do a Pemi loop next year.
Yeah.
The goal.
Yeah, that's fun. Would you backpack it, or you do single day?
I don't know. I think I would maybe backpack it first, do it in 2 days, and then try to do it into 1 if I had people to go with. I attempted it once before, but I bailed and hitchhiked back to my car.
Yeah, it's a long hike. I think I like the do 2 nights, and then you can stop at like Liberty Springs and then Guillote, and then I find that's a nice pace. But I do need to do a single loop. A single day. I haven't done that yet. So
next year.
Yeah.
Next year. So, all right. Well, Taylor, thank you so much.
She's
been sitting in her car for an hour and a half. I feel bad.
Yeah, it's okay.
You're warmed up.
Yeah. Probably gonna head to McDonald's right now.
But thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Right. Yeah, and enjoy it. But we thank you so much. And like I said, we'll plug your the NewHampshireHiker.com and your YouTube channel, and then people should definitely go check out your store up in Guilford, and then stay in touch with us when you're on the mend again. If you need anybody to go hiking with in the do the Pemi Loop or whatever, Nick and I are always around. We got a crew.
Absolutely.
I used to hike by myself too, Taylor. Like I used to be like antisocial, but I found this crew. They're all old guys like me. So, but it works. It works out. So if you need anybody to help you, we're around.
Perfect.
You'd help balance the age gap a little bit.
We would drive you crazy, Taylor, I'm sure.
No, that sounds fun.
But anyways, awesome. But yeah, stay in touch. And again, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed the show, you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, YouTube, or wherever you listen to podcasts. If you want to learn more about the topics covered in today's show, please check out the show notes and safety information at SLASRPodcast.com. That's SLASR podcast.com. You can also follow the show on Facebook and Instagram. We hope you'll join us next week for another great show. Until then, on behalf of Mike and Stomp, get out there and crush some mega peaks.
Now covered in scratches, blisters, and bug bites, Chris Staff wanted to complete his most challenging day hike ever.
Fish and Game officers say the hiker from Florida activated an emergency beacon yesterday morning. He was hiking along the Appalachian Trail when the weather started to get worse. Officials say the snow was piled up to 3 feet in some spots, and there was a wind chill of -1 degree.
And there's 3 words to describe this race. Do we all know what they are? Only one help!
Lieutenant James Nealon, New Hampshire Fish and Game. Lieutenant, thanks for being with us today.
Thanks for having me.
What are some of the most common mistakes you see people make when they're heading out on the trails to hike here in New Hampshire?
It seems to me the most common is being unprepared, and I think if they just simply visited hikesafe.com and got a list of the 10 essential items and had those in their packs, they probably would have no need to ever call us at all.